Everybody, I'm Andy Cohen. Hear me and my awesome lineup on Radio Andy. Andy Cohen Live.
Gail King in the house.
Jeff Lewis Live.
It's Me Dinks. My Sisters Live. Sandyland.
The Jess Cagle Show.
Make It Nice. Revelations. From pop culture, music to show-stopping moments.
Kelly Ripa. Ed Sheeran. Jennifer Lopez. Kevin Hart. Lil Nas X. Kelly Clarkson. I do want to do a duet with you.
You've heard it.
Yeah, I want to do it.
To hear Radio Andy, activate your radio by calling 844-711-8800 or visiting SiriusXM.com/go.
You deserve the best. With the SiriusXM Platinum VIP plan, you can unlock the ultimate listening experience in up to 2 cars and stream anywhere with 2 app logins. Enjoy our greatest content, opportunities for live VIP experiences, and prioritize customer care. Plus, get access to over 5,000 audio and video concert recordings through nugs.net. Call 844-711-8800 and become a VIP. Offer details apply. Not available in Canada.
What it is.
Connect with the R&B and hip-hop that's hot now. Discover who's next. And stay up on the culture.
Cause Drake don't know how to kiss and not tell.
On the heat.
Girl, your BD is a zero. My backshot sound like bongo.
Channel 46 and on the SiriusXM app. Included in all trials and popular plans.
Step into the enchanting world of the holidays, where the warmth and wonder of this festive time comes to life. Hallmark Channel Radio returns to SiriusXM. Grab your coziest blanket, fill your cup with steaming hot cocoa, and join us by the fire with timeless Christmas music and carols. We'll be here all season long, sharing the joy and magic of this special time of year. Hallmark Channel Radio, for a limited time starting Wednesday, Channel 107, and on the SiriusXM app, included in all trials and popular plans.
There you go now.
I think I'm recording.
Oh, I think. There you go now.
I think I'm recording.
Oh, I think.
You know SiriusXM has over 100 extra channels on the SiriusXM app filled with ad-free music made for everything you do. Mashup channels, workout channels, channels for parties, or just chilling out and more. Expertly curated for any mood, occasion, or activity. Extra channels let you discover new music and enjoy even more variety from every decade and music style you love. Plus, you can watch some of your favorite SiriusXM shows with SiriusXM Video. And you can do it all along with listening in your car as part of our music and entertainment plan. Right now, we're offering SiriusXM subscription plans for as low as $6 a month, plus fees and taxes. Call 844-711-8800 to find out more about these amazing offers.
What's going on? My own channel celebrating my new album, Rockstar.
Dolly's Rockstar Radio for a limited time starting Wednesday on Channel 14 and the SiriusXM app.
If you've been thinking about buying a home, you need to be in the zone, the home buying zone. You need a game plan to win in this great real estate market. The Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage has all your bases covered. Whether you're a first-time home buyer, purchasing your dream home, refinancing, consolidating debt, or even considering a reverse mortgage, contact the Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage today. They have the lowest closing costs and they'll close your loan on time, guaranteed, or they'll pay your first mortgage payment. And they even have a 3.5% purchase down payment grant that can get you into a home with little money out of your pocket. It doesn't get more clutch than that, folks. Score big on the biggest purchase of your life. Call Equity Zone Mortgage today at 1-800-772-8624. That's 1-800-772-8624. Or apply online at equityzonemortgage.com and tell them Big C sent you as heard on the Big C Sports Podcast. That's just what it's
Rondo the Bordes, bonjour, vidi vidi vici, let's get ready to rumble. Welcome to the show. My name is Trump, Big C Sports. This is Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to me, and people who love the universe. That would include you. What a beautiful day in the neighborhood. A beautiful day in the neighborhood. Won't you be mine? Won't you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor? Shut up! You know, welcome to the morning. You know, I told you I signed up for this I didn't really sign up for it. I was elected. You know how you elect the president? I was elected to be the president of the Neighborhood Watch program. The only problem is I get up at 3 in the morning. Get him some praise. What a beautiful November 13th, 2023. Today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard in the world. When you go by and test drive yours, tell them sit you where the good Lord fit you. If that makes sense to you. Tell it Big C sent you. You can follow Big C's Podcast on 29 podcast applications all across the universe. You can find us on Google, Alexa, Spotify, Speaker Podcast, Amazon Podcast, Tuned In Podcast, Good Pods Podcast, iHeartRadio Podcast, Castbox Podcast, the Deezer Podcast, Podcast Addict, Podchaser. You can also follow Big C Sports on Geo Savan out of London, England, as well as India and Africa. Podtail, YouTube, Hopper, Stitcher Podcast, Radio Line, Peapod Podcast, Luminary Podcast, Listen Notes, Podcast Wise, Podbay, Global Podcast, Podcast Prodigy, Podcast Republic, and then there's one that used to scare me, but then it stopped, but then it started scaring me again. It's all free, not AI. Again, that's a praise because the robots are taking over like R2D2. They want to take over. If that makes sense to you, all fair and level work. Really, I appreciate it. You can also follow Big C Sports Podcast, streaming OTT on 4 TV podcast platforms all over the universe. Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. I want to tell you, I love giving out the Veterans Crisis Hotline. It's my own PSA, and I'm telling you, their experience helping veterans and their loved ones. We just got through Veterans Day weekend. Obviously, a lot of tributes and celebrations around the country, just paying homage to our veterans, and I want to give them some praise for that as well. We are free. They say the land of the free and the home of the brave. Well, it is the land of the free and the home of the brave. I love giving our veterans some praise. You can also follow, I'm telling you, I want to tell you with Big C Sports Podcast, I want to say thank you to Xfinity, Comcast TV, and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like in Genesis 1:3, where God said, He said, reparations now, reparations forever. And I love giving that praise, reparations now and reparations forever. Everybody wants to give praise to whoever serves this country. And then obviously we have a free country. But at the same time, I love just being a part of saying let's end violence. What's going on with Palestine and Israel. There was a protest over the weekend, and attended that protest with a colleague, just asking people for peace, because we don't need any more bloodshed. If that makes sense to you, give that some praise. No more bloodshed. Give that some praise. I really do appreciate being part of a peaceful movement. I want to tell you what I do a little bit different with Big C Sports, and everybody has their own flavor. I always, number one, I produce the show. Number two, I direct the topics. Number three, I broadcast all the shows. Number four, I do all the sound effects based on the platform provided by the agency. We could all use more laughter in our lives. I know I could use more laughter, especially all the stuff going on in this beautiful country of ours. At the same time, the commercials are done. The stats are provided. The storytelling. I even do that play-by-play. Got NFL football happening tonight with the Buffalo Bills and the Denver Broncos and Denver Heels, if that makes sense to you. And then the show's uploaded to 29 podcast platforms all over the universe. Let me do it right. The universe out of New York City. And I'm in Denver Hills, California. Number 10, I never missed a show. Never. Since creating Big C Sports with the crew back in the day at Salem Media. So I really do appreciate that. My show, I will always say rise and shine, be worthy of God's blessings and anointings. And I love doing that. I want to thank you. Give that some praise when you rise and shine. We all want to rise and shine. Sometimes people aren't grateful with what they have until you realize that you're able to get up and rise and shine. I'm very grateful for the opportunities that I have with Big C Sports Podcast. I want to thank the Associated Press, Janie Har, for doing an article with Big C Sports. It was about reparations. Now, she called a sports show, and she asked me about reparations. And I said, how'd you get my number? She said, we have our ways. I said, what made you call me? She said, I heard you speak. It was at a reparations rally in Northern California. And she asked me my thoughts on reparations. I said the same thing that President Abraham Lincoln said. I said, reparations now, reparations forever. Just like our Jewish brethren got for Holocaust descendants of Holocaust. And I know it's happening. It's going to happen before the next election. And there are some people who don't believe it, but that's their fault. They don't read the way I do, and I'm very well connected. And so I just want to say thank you to Janie Hart, the Associated Press. Also, CBS News did an article on Big C Sports. You know, CBS News, the same CBS that does NFL football. That same CBS News did an article on reparations. Big C Sports. And I just want to say thank you. Give that some praise. It's important. It's important. I love so much about what's going on in life. I want to always make sure that I pay homage to people who sent me documentation, because I always say I fact check everything, like Walk the Crime Right, just the facts. And I get documentation from people that tell me about why reparations is so important. I want to thank the California Reparations Task Force. We have the chair. Her name is Camila Moore. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I also want to thank the Vice Chair, Dr. Amos C. Brown. He's brilliant. Love giving him praise. I want to thank the best senator of the United States, California Senator Stephen Bradford. He's brilliant. I've loved giving him praise. He's also responsible for name, image, and likeness for college players when they get paid for their name, image, and likeness. He also helped craft the Ebony Alert that helps find young black kids when they go missing. He deserves a lot of praise. He's also part of the California Reparations Task Force. And then I want to thank Councilmember Monica Montgomery Steppe. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. And then Assembly Member Reginald Jones Sawyer. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. Dr. Michelle Grills. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. Attorney Lisa Holder. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. Dr. Javon Scott Lewis. He's brilliant. Professor at California Berkeley. I love giving him praise. And then also Attorney Donna K. Kamaki. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. Part of the California Reparations Task Force. And also a Japanese American who family received reparations after the Japanese internment camps. Give that praise. Going to be meeting soon with California Senator Stephen Bradford talking about reparations and what we can do to find out how to get the word out to more people. I want to thank this is CNN. The source with Caitlin Collins, 9 o'clock p.m. weeknights on CNN, proud sponsors of Big C Sports. I want to thank PNC Private Bank, proud sponsors of Big C Sports. I need $6 billion. Give me some praise for $6 billion. I'm not checking it out. You got to ask. President Zelensky, he said, I'm going to go to the United States. I'm going to get $100 million. People said, oh, you must be out of your mind. And now you got to give him praise because he got the money. Descendants of child slavery next. I want to thank the Double O National Payout Committee of the National Black Wall Street Project. She sent me Executive Order 13985, which is further advancing racial equity and support for underserved communities through the federal government. That's called the White House. Give that some praise. It's so important. We got to know that. Reparations, Georgetown University, I want to thank them. They've already pledged over $1 billion to 272 descendants of child slavery that helped build Georgetown. Got to give them some praise. And that's in Washington, D.C. We think the White House would beat them to it. Also, I want to thank the Double O National Payout Committee of the National Black Wall Street Project. Sent me this article from the United Nations where it says strong leadership and political will are crucial to ensure reparatory justice for people of African descent. You got to give that praise. This is not just shucking and jiving. I want to thank T-Mobile, America's largest 5G network, proud sponsors of Big C Sports. Give that some praise. All's fair and level war. I want to get onto some things that happened over the weekend. Of course, NFL football is big, but every one of those football teams, those players and their owners, you know what they do? They go to the bank. They go to the bank because that's where they put their money outside of investments and annuities, etc. But I want everyone, it's a homework coming up. You know, the holidays are coming up. People have to go to the bank to make sure their checks are cashed. And so Google Freedmen's Bank, Freedmen's Bank, that's Freedmen's Bank, was chartered by the United States Congress March 1865 to provide a place for former slaves to safely store their money. After several successful years in which freedmen deposited more than $57 million in a bank, it collapsed in 1874 as a result of mismanagement and fraud. had all white management, and they robbed many African Americans of everything, all of their savings, all of it. And it caused people to give up hope and have distrust in financial institutions for years to come. But when Silicon Valley Bank failed down in Silicon Valley, the government made good on their money. They didn't do that for the black Americans. It was called Freedmen Savings and Trust. Isn't that something? The need for bank for freed black Americans became evident during the American Civil War. African American soldiers helped the Union win the Civil War. And the Union Army was often denied access to conventional banks, even though they helped the Union win the Civil War. They still told black people no. Isn't that crazy? And they had denied access to conventional banks, were often taken advantage of by swindlers. And it became apparent through some sympathetic military officers, we just had Veterans Day, as well as advocates for civil rights, that African Americans needed a bank to ensure that money was safe. I just told you, black Americans helped the Union win the Civil War. And they had no place to put their money. So Freedmen's Bank was created. And the white people stole it. They stole all of it. And very few got the money back after begging Congress. That same Congress right now had the chance to do reparations. John W. Alford, a congressional minister, and Anson M. Sperry, a United States Army paymaster, individually identified that need and attempted to foster the creation of such an institution in early 1865. In Alford's efforts, it culminated in the legislation passed by Congress on March 3rd that incorporated Freedmen's Savings and Trust Company as a nonprofit financial institution. And then listen up, President Biden, because President Abraham Lincoln, he immediately signed the bill into law. He didn't have to go through task force. And that's important, the same way reparations can be signed into law. You know, they robbed the soldiers and black citizens that helped win the Civil War. And some people still, we don't need reparations. We do need reparations. There was a board of 50 white trustees that were named to manage the bank's affairs. At the first, Freedmen's Bank was a success during the Reconstruction period. It opened branches in a number of southern cities with large black populations, including Richmond, Virginia, Charleston, South Carolina, Savannah, Georgia, New Orleans, Louisiana, Vicksburg, Mississippi, and Houston, Texas. Eventually, it had more than 30 branches in over a dozen states and the District of Columbia, as well as about 72,000 depositors. Isn't that something? And it was all stolen! You gotta realize that was wrong. I know we want to focus on just who won the game, who the Buffalo Bills beat Denver tonight. But every one of those athletes and the owners of these sports teams, they have their money in banks, they have their money in trust and investments. Imagine if you went to get that money to pay your athletes and all the money was gone. Well, that's what happened to black Americans. And that's why reparations should be done. And that's my story. I'm sticking with it. I want to get on to some things. I love giving my family praise for my beautiful ancestry on my beautiful mother's side. My great-grandmother called her Mama, beautiful, loving, kind woman. My great-grandfather called him Pop, from a military man, a Negro League baseball player. And then my beautiful grandmother, Muddy, a beautiful, loving, kind woman, a seer, could oftentimes look at a person and tell you a lot about their past, their present, and their future. And then I want to tell you my beautiful grandfather, Hezekiah, another one of a person, a seer, could oftentimes tell you a lot about their past, present, and future. And then I can always depend on my mama, the most beautiful mama in the history of the universe. She started a Head Start program and to educate young people, and then a food program to feed people. She also coached an all-boys Little League baseball team to the championship of the universe in an all-man's league. First black woman to do that in Dimner Hills, California. Always saying rise and shine. I love my mama with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And I love giving her praise. And then on my father's side, My beautiful grandfather, Albert Curry, he was a pastor, had 3 churches, owned 2 gas stations. He also owned 40 acres of land. Just like the Emancipation Proclamation, 40 acres. He had some cattle. He didn't have a mule, but he had some cattle. But I remember how smart he was and business inclined he was. And then my beautiful grandmother working side by side with my granddaddy with the churches, the 3 churches, the 2 gas stations. But I was 8 years old walking through a hallway. I remember 8 years old walking through a hallway in Oakland about 10 o'clock at night, and I felt someone touch me on my forehead. She said, "Excuse me, young man, are you going to get some more cookies?" I said, What are you doing, Grandma? It's 10 o'clock at night. You normally go to bed at about 8:30. She said, "What are you doing, young man? Going to get some more cookies?" I said, "Cookies are baby crap to what I'm doing, Grandma. I'm going to get my reparations." And then she said, "There's something about your voice I love hearing you speak." It's amazing that I still think she helps me to this day on 29 podcast platforms. Give that some praise. And then my beautiful father, former United States Air Force fighter pilot, service veteran, and always making sure that airplanes can fly high so we could all stay safe at night. Really do appreciate my dad. Always saying develop your mind to its highest extent. Love my dad with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And always saying go forward. My beautiful brother Todd with that bombastic voice, sound like thunder and lightning when Todd would speak. A voracious reader, always talking sports and politics. And just a very, very, very good man. My beautiful daughter Daisy, the most beautiful daughter in the history of the universe. I'm telling you, graduated from college, 2 degrees in 3.5 years from a major university, very smart, erudite woman. She actually set up the very first interview for Big C Sports back in the days at Salem Media. And we went on from there to become the first time in the history of the United States that NFL Monday Night Football, which is on tonight, was broadcasting live on the Wall Street Business Network. It had never happened before until 2 black men in the crew did our thing. Still got the letter from Station Management. She said, "God, your voice is sexy." That was a hook at the end of what she had said to me. But still, shenanigans happened and it went away. And now ESPN normally would carry those programs, and now they have streaming, etc. But really do appreciate that. And then days you can be anything you want to be. Always trust God. Isaiah 54:17. That no weapon formed against you will prosper. Always, always, always trust God. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And then my beautiful handsome son, Malcolm, the most handsome son in the history of the universe. College senior, very smart, erudite, a good man. You can be anything you want to be. Always trust God. One day, Malcolm helped me save trees. I used to always get the newspaper looking up stats on players and teams for Big C Sports Podcast. One day, Malcolm said, "Dad," he said, "why don't you just Google it?" And a light bulb went off. I've been Googling ever since. And now on 29 podcast platforms. And one day Malcolm said, "Dad, do you want to see Big C Sports on TV?" I said, "Sure." He said, "Pick up the remote, aim it at the TV, you see your show come up." That's before it was even on the air. And shortly after that, you can see it streaming now. Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV. He spoke it into existence. You can be anything you want to be, Malcolm. Love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Very proud of you. And then Big C with all that wealth of knowledge over the years. Like my great-granddaddy coming out of that barn, always saying, you got to believe, you got to believe, you got to believe, saying, let's get ready to rumble. I love saying welcome to the show. ESPY-nominated Big C Sports Podcast. I have no scripts. I have no 3-way teleprompters, no producer in my ear. All I got is little bit earwax. But that comes in handy when I'm right out of chapstick. I want to bring you to some NFL football. And I do believe, and one more time, reparations now, reparations forever. The NFL, they are saying end racism on the back of their enzymes. That's a start. Indianapolis Colts 10, New England Patriots 6. It was across the pond. Mac Jones was benched as quarterback for the Patriots, having gone 15 of 20, and he only had 170 yards. And then Bailey Zappi came in, but he also went just 3 for 7 and 25 yards. And both players threw bad interceptions. And many people have the writing on the wall that Bill Belichick is going to be out as the head coach at New England after this season. I'm not so sure. I think Bob Kraft, I don't know what Bob Kraft is going to do, but Bill Belichick has earned a lot of favor with that franchise over the 20-plus years. And so I'm thinking it'll be up to him if he wants to step down or not. That's just my thought. But Cleveland Browns, what a big comeback for Cleveland, 33. Baltimore Ravens, 31. And when you think about Kyle Hamilton, he opened the game as well as you can for the Ravens, tipping and intercepting a pass from the great Deshaun Watson before walking into the end zone for a touchdown. And then for the Ravens, quarterback Marlon Humphrey who had been questionable coming into the game, left the game due to injury, with the Ravens having a short turnaround before facing Cincinnati on Thursday Night Football. There's a reason why Myles Garrett is the front runner for Defensive Player of the Year at this stage, and despite the Ravens keeping him off the stat sheet for almost 3-4 quarters, he still made his presence felt, bringing down the great Superman Lamar Jackson on 2 straight plays at the end of the third quarter. You could bring down Superman. They say he must have had kryptonite in his pants. Maybe he did have some kryptonite in his pants, but it brought him down. In Cleveland, that was a miraculous comeback. I thought that game was put away by the Baltimore Ravens, but what can Brown do for you? They can sack the quarterback, if that makes sense to you. I got the Houston Texans. It may be the upset of the week. Houston Texans 30, Cincinnati Bengals 27. Now, Tank Dell was once again a big factor for the Texans on the offense, targeted 14 times with the win, and he caught 6 passes for 56 yards. But in a touchdown. But I got to look at a player that many people said could have been the first round pick, C.J. Stroud out of Rancho Cucamonga High School in Southern California, then Ohio State. C.J. Stroud, that good a boy can play. He threw for 470 yards last week in a big win over Tampa. And then you got to look at what he did. Now he's a rookie. He was 23 of 39, 356 yards and a touchdown. And he also rushed for a touchdown. He's thrown for over 750 yards in the last 2 games. You got to give that some praise. That good a boy can play. And Joe Burrow had a decent game too, but he was outclassed in his own backyard by the good old boy. Both of them went to Ohio State. Joe Burrow transferred down to LSU where they won a national championship. So Joe Burrow, obviously a good player, and people were liking the way he was playing earlier in the year. But I got to tell you, Joe Burrow was 27 of 40, 347 yards. But a rookie, 356 yards passing, and C.J. Stroud, man, I just love giving that brother some praise. What a great game he had. And now, I told you there's gold in them there hills. The San Francisco 49ers in Bang Bang Niner game. They went into Jacksonville where they were getting buck wild in Jacksonville. It was 34-3. It said, please, Niners, don't hurt them. 34-3. The Jaguars wideout receiver Christian Kirk, he had 6 receptions, 104 yards. The only Jaguar player with at least 30 receiving yards and 50 yards from the scrimmage on the day. Now, Kirk fumbled the ball at the 49ers 6-yard line, then went down to 20-3. And it ended the game once and for all. The Jaguars had no answer. They could not run the ball against that defense, the 49ers defense. I'm telling you, they were just smashing everybody on the day. And then you got Bosa, obviously teaming back with Chase Young. They played together at Ohio State back in the day. And then Armstead at the middle. They had just a great defensive showing against the Jaguars down in Jacksonville. Now, on the offensive side for the 49ers, you have the 49ers tight end, the great George Kittle. He got behind Jaguars linebacker Devin Lloyd, and then quarterback Brock Purdy somehow reset his base and reloaded his arm to deliver a well-placed ball over Lloyd's outstretched arms. It could have been intercepted, but Kittle knows how to go out and get the ball. And Kittle had 114 yards and a touchdown. And that was a spectacular touchdown that he had against Jacksonville. Running back Christian McCaffrey had over 100 yards for scrimmage, with 95 yards on the ground and 6 receptions for 47 yards, and both featuring several missed tackles and forced. I'm telling you, this good old boy, his streak came to an end, and it's amazing. They tried to get him the ball, but he had touchdowns in 17 games, and that tied the NFL record. He's trying to get to 18, but the win is more important than the record. Every player will tell you that, all strength level work. So the 49ers showed right now, you can't say they're the best team in the NFL yet, because Dallas is rolling, Philadelphia is rolling in the NFC, and when you have Dallas and Philadelphia, they're going to have another clash. But in the NFC, you gotta don't look too far past Detroit. The Lions look good, but I still think the mark of the class of the NFC is Philadelphia and San Francisco, and I still want to throw in Dallas and Detroit. But I'm thinking it's San Francisco or Philadelphia is going to host the NFC Championship game. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I was saying the 49ers are the best team in the league. And when they have Deebo Samuel healthy, Trent Williams healthy on the line of scrimmage, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, and Christian McCaffrey, then Brock Purdy doesn't have to lean too hard on finding one or two players. He has like 5 players that can make a game-saving play on the offensive side. And then Fred Warner, Bosa, Young on the defensive side, Armstead, they're very tough to beat. Minnesota Vikings 27, New Orleans Saints. Who that say they're going to beat them Saints? 19. And Daniel Hunter had a big day for the Vikings defense, and it was his hit that knocked out Derek Carr and then brought in Jameis Winston for the closing stages. And Hunter had a sack to maintain his league this season, as well as some additional pressure. He had 22.5% pass rush win rate. That good boy gets to the quarterback. Out of 10 plays, he tends to get to the quarterback at least twice. And I want to tell you one more thing. Dobbs, he was with Arizona. The Cardinals, they got rid of him. And he's come on to help them win some big-time games. And I'm just telling you, this kid is amazing that Arizona let him go. All-friend level war. Pittsburgh Steelers, that's Steel Curtain Defense Part 2. Those good boys in Pittsburgh right now, they got a 23-19 win over the Green Bay Packers. And who would have expected that? I did, and so did the Green Bay Packers. Now, they're a good team. The Steelers, the Jalen Reed led the Packers in receiving. He had 5 targets, 5 catches, 84 yards, and a touchdown. He now has 4 touchdown catches on the season to go along with 417 receiving yards. And then Luke Musgrave was second on the team in receiving yards, came up with a couple of big catches for a total of 64 yards. He has now crossed 300 yards receiving. But you got to look at that Pittsburgh Steelers, that, what they say, black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow. Okay, maybe I don't sing this song as well as the real crew. But now the Steelers are 6-3. Right there, knocking on the door with Baltimore, Cincinnati, and you got to tell me this team, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, it's a tough division, and maybe one of those teams, or maybe even 2, won't make the playoffs. But for the Steelers, Chris Boswell's field goal, and then Najee Harris and Jalen Warren found the end zone in this game, with each handling double-digit carries. Harris, out of Antioch High School, 16 carries, 82 yards, and then Warren took 15 carries, 101 yards. They both got their chest in the win. Kenny Pickett completed just 14 and 23 passes, only had 126 yards. But when you have a good running game, you don't have to throw far to get the win. And then Jordan Love on the Green Bay side had a decent day passing, 2 touchdowns, 289 yards through the air, but interception in the end zone with under 4 minutes to go, and that about sealed it. And then Jordan Love came out of Liberty High School in Bakersfield in Southern California. And now Tampa Bay Buccaneers 20, Tennessee Titans 6. There's something wrong with Tennessee. The Buccaneers receiver Mike Evans, he was a standout player in this game. Evans finished the game 6 catches on 10 targets, 143 yards, and a touchdown. That good boy is a reason that they have a good Christmas season coming up, if that makes sense to you. But we don't know that the South, NFC South, is not that dangerous right now. No one seems to want to pull away. But Tennessee got robbed. I won't say robbed. They got beat down 20-6. And Mike Evans was a standout player of the game. I like the way he played. On the defensive side, the Buccaneers safety Antoine Whitfield Jr. was the most impactful defensive player of the game thanks to his big turnover in the fourth quarter. He led the team in tackles. He had 6 tackles. So that's a team that can play well. And then Will Levis started and finished the day 19 for 39, 200 yards passing. And you got to give him some credit for getting that win. Arizona, in a shocker to me, 25. Atlanta Falcons 23. Defensive spotlight, Nate Landman. He continued a nice first season as a starter with big plays for the Falcons defense and had the interception of Murray over the middle and brought the Cardinals quarterback down for an 11-yard loss. But then, not so fast, my friend. Arizona got up off the dirt, and they found a way to come back when they're all red uniforms and white helmets. Arizona took down the Atlanta Falcons 25-22. It was Kyler Murray's first game back. His first game since he tore his ACL. Now, the quarterback went 19 for 32, 250 yards, and he did have a bad interception across the middle in the third quarter, but his mobility carried the Cardinals. He used his mobility to avoid sacks. He also finished the game with 33-yard rushing, and you got to give him some credit coming back from the ACL. And to lead them to a win, wasn't really expecting that over the Falcons. Detroit Lions 41, Los Angeles 38. Jamar Gibbs flashed his talent early and often. In this game, he carried the ball 14 times, 77 yards, and found the end zones twice. in the first half. Gibbs also added 3 catches, 35 yards to get over 100 yards, all-purpose yards. And then you got to look at the Chargers. They play well enough to win, but not well enough to not win or to not lose, if that makes sense to you. Riley Patterson, a game-winning 41-yard field goal in the waning moments of the game. Detroit is now 7-2. They have a better record than the Cowboys. They have a better record than the 49ers. Isn't that something? I mean, they're right there knocking on that door for the playoffs. But we'll see what happens as we get down the stretch. Jared Goff, 333 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. And the run game did some damage early with the great David Montgomery returned to the lineup after missing 2 games with a rib injury. And then Jamar Gibbs took over the goal line, and he found his way to be productive. Had a 75-yard touchdown run. And this one, Montgomery had 116 rushing yards on just 12 carries. Amon-Ra St. Brown was the primary receiving guard for Jared Goff, 156 yards on only 8 catches. That good boy out of USC was doing his thing. Also played at Santa Ana Mater Dei. Dallas Cowboys. How about those Cowboys? Dallas Cowboys 49, New York Giants 17. And Giants running back the great Saquon Barkley had 7 carries for 1 yard in the first half. Quarterback Tommy DeVito, he was 4 of 9, 24 yards. And the Giants, they look like they've given up. The entire Cowboy passing attack, it was tearing them up. Quarterback touchdown, Dak Prescott. He was 18 of 24, 239 yards, and 2 touchdowns, had 17 yards rushing, and a touchdown to close out the half. And wide receiver CeeDee Lamb, he scored the first half on a 14-yard carry and hauled in 6 catches for 98 yards. Brandon Cooks also had 104 yards with his chest in the wind on 7 touchdowns. You gotta tell me, Dallas sometimes, I mean, the Giants can make you look like a really good team, but Dallas is a really good team. And be careful when the playoffs come around, because they're due. They're due, if that makes sense to you. The Seattle Seahawks, what a great game. 29 on Washington Commanders, 26. The Seahawks edge rusher Boyle Mafe had another sack in his breakout season. He was the most consistent source of pressure for the Seattle Seahawks. And I'm telling you, he led the team with pressures with 5 and had a lot of pressure on the day getting at Washington's backfield. Leonard Williams also noticed he got his first sack being traded from the New York Giants, but with just 1 of 2 pressures pending. There's something about Seattle. They don't look good at times, and other times they look great. They were in first place in the NFC West for a while, and then they got blown out by the Ravens, and now they're trying to crawl back, if that makes sense to you. But a 29-26 win. The offensive spotlight, I'm thinking Geno Smith, he made just a couple more plays than Sam Howell to steal the game. And Smith averaged 7.8 yards per attempt and had an 80% adjusted completion percentage. Played a good game. Seattle spotlight edge rusher. I'm telling you, they were putting a lot of pressure on those good boys from Washington, D.C. You got to look at Seattle, not the best team in the NFC. That's the 49ers. But you got to look at what they're able to do. They're able to just hang around, and they could be a dangerous playoff team if that's their fate, if that makes sense to you. I got to get to the Las Vegas Raiders, 16-12 over the New York Jets. And the Raiders rookie quarterback Aiden O'Connell once again started the game on Sunday night. He finished the contest. He was 16-27, 153 passing yards and 1 passing touchdown. He also had an interception. The Raiders were in this game. They could have lost with a Hail Mary at the end, but they were fighting hard. You gotta give that to him. Josh Jacobs, he had a great game for the Raiders also. So the final game of the night came Sunday night in Las Vegas, and they defeated New York by 16-12. It went down to the wire, though. Running back Josh Jacobs, the offensive spotlight for the Raiders. He did not score a touchdown, but he did have a game-high 116-yard rushing on 27 carries of 4.3 average, and that's good for a running back in the NFL. I got to tell you, they played their hearts out, the Raiders, the last 2 games. Now, Raiders rookie quarterback Aiden O'Connell once again started the game on Sunday. He finished the contest just 16 of 27, 153 yards passing and 1 touchdown. But I look at the Raiders, they play like they have new life. And whether people like the coach or not, they're playing the way Raider football has always been. So I wish them nothing but the best. And then you got the Denver Broncos at the Buffalo Bills tonight. And obviously, Russell Wilson is going to try to lead Denver to an upset win but I don't know if they can. Josh Allen got to find this groove. I know they got beat down by Seattle last time. Not Seattle, but Cincinnati. But they have to get a win at home. Denver, I'm not really impressed with Denver. I'm more impressed with Buffalo getting this win. But you never know. If Russell Wilson can have a breakout game, and right now, Buffalo's kind of hurting. Touchdown Stephon Diggs needs to see the ball more, in my opinion. But if Allen's running out of the pocket too much to get him open and then doesn't throw the ball downfield, it's hard to get the receiving that he needs to get. That's just my story that I'm taking with. But that's NFL football. I wish them all the best. I want to get into some college football and this thoughts about who's number one. Well, we'll figure that out when the playoffs come around. But college football had a lot of big-time games. I'm telling you, the USC and Oregon game was a dandy, but Oregon seemed to be the better team all along the way. Ohio State blowing out Michigan State. And then Michigan with the win over Penn State. And then Harbaugh going through his, whatever you want to call, very light suspension. Still able to be at the facility, but not able to be on the sideline. But I'm going to tell you, the playoff race is here. And there's some tight games along the way. Saturday still saw, in my opinion, no matter who you call number one, whether it's Georgia, they're the defending national champions back-to-back. Ohio State looks good. Georgia cruised to a lopsided win. Michigan State got beat down pretty solidly by Ohio State. And then Ole Miss, they had no hope against Georgia. Michigan took care of Penn State, closer game than maybe it could have been, but Penn State's a good team to go into Happy Valley and win in front of that crowd. You got to give Michigan some praise for that. Florida State, they held off Miami in the big showdown of the Sunshine State. They knocked off the Hurricanes. Number 5, Washington, they hung on for a big victory up against Utah, number 18, Utah. And there was a play where the player was running to the end zone for the Huskies, dropped the ball on the 1-yard line. He was trying to celebrate early, always carry the ball through the back of the end zone, if that makes sense to you. It could have cost them, but it did not. And then Texas, they survived a comeback effort by TCU, that same TCU that Colorado beat earlier in the season. They got a 3-point win. Alabama, they blew past Kentucky. Alabama looks good. And then LSU, quarterback Jaden Daniels, he might be the Heisman Trophy winner, even though they don't have the best record this year. But that good boy was dominant over the weekend. So I want to give you some more scores that were big in college football, and everybody has their thoughts on who the better teams are. Alabama 49, Kentucky 21, and Alabama's ranked number 8. Believe me, Alabama's better than number 8. Number 3, Michigan 24, number 10, Penn State 15. Great game that was. Number 21, Arizona 34, and Colorado 31. You got number 14, Missouri 36, and then number 13, Tennessee 7. Another big game down in the South. Number 4, Florida State 27, Miami Hurricanes 20. Number 5, Washington 35. Number 18, Utah 28. What a game that was up at Puget Sound Husky Stadium. Number 2, Georgia 52. Number 9, Ole Miss 17. For people who feel that Georgia's not the best team in the country, you go put up 52 points on the number 9 team in the country in Ole Miss. Georgia kind of started sluggish at times earlier in the year, but right now I think they're playing like they're the number 1 team in the country. Number 17, Oklahoma 59, West Virginia 20. Number 1, Ohio State in some people's mind 38, Michigan State 3. And then Texas, number 7, Texas 29, TCU 26. Number 19, LSU 52, Florida 35. And then obviously you got USC. They fell to the Oregon Ducks. All's fair in love and war, but a game that could have been. I mean, USC didn't have a chance to win that game. I thought Oregon would win by 2 touchdowns. They just won by just over 2 touchdowns. But I think about Bo Nix, his performance for Oregon, and now people put him in the Heisman Trophy candidate. Well, he had a great game, obviously. But Caleb Williams also still, in my opinion, the best quarterback in the country. They don't have the same team that Oregon has, so Oregon can look really good at times. It was 36-27. Unfortunately, it's the final Pac-12 game for these two teams. Oregon came out 36-27, and that ends USC's hope of reaching the Pac-12 title game. Bo Nix was 24-32, 415 yards. He had 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. On the other hand, reigning Heisman Trophy candidate our winner, USC Caleb Williams. He did all he could. He was 19 of 34, 292 yards passing, and a touchdown. But the Trojans, their defensive unit, they just don't have a defense that can compete for a Pac-12 championship or a national championship, in my opinion. And the Ducks marched on, and they won that game against USC with their array of colors that they can wear at home, with the yellow tops, green bottoms, and black helmets. It's always a sight to see. But USC botched this exchange, and Oregon's Evan Williams fell on the football, leading to a huge swing. Bucky Irvin capped the Ducks in swing drive, a 19-yard touchdown to grow Oregon's lead to 36-14. USC had scored there, but could have been a one-possession game. But entering the fourth quarter instead, the Ducks are now in full command, trying to get back to a Pac-12 championship, and they hope that they can face the Washington Huskies that beat them at Washington. I think it was 35-32 just a couple of weeks ago, and they look like they're playing better football than Washington right now. I'm not saying that they could beat Washington if they play again, but it's hard to beat a really good team twice. I think Dan Lanning, he's learned something when Georgia beat them last year. I think it was 49-3 down in Atlanta. I think he learned something in that game. And now what he's learned is they're playing more physical football. And if that can help, then they may get the chance to be the Pac-12 best hope at playing for a national championship. Even though Washington is undefeated, no disrespect to the Washington Huskies. They're a very sound team. In fact, when they went head-to-head with the good old boys, Washington they beat Oregon. But Michael Penix had a great game, and that's where you got to look at it. It wasn't as if they blew them out easily. It's a game where you got to look at the best, maybe the top 3 candidates for the Heisman Trophy in the Pac-12. People are going to say, well, it's not Caleb Williams. It's still Caleb Williams, in my opinion. And Michael Penix Jr., amazing quarterback, got to put him in there. And Bo Nix, you got to put him up for Heisman Trophy consideration. But then if you go down, I know he's changed uniforms and changed jerseys. Daniels used to be at Arizona State, and now he's at LSU. And he looked like he had the best performance over the weekend. But it's not about his record of the LSU, it's about how you play. So I like all of these players have Pac-12 affiliation. And why am I saying that? Because it's starting to go away. The league will no longer play Pac-12 football next year. The 2 remaining teams are Washington State and Oregon State. What's going to happen? I don't know what's going to happen. But it's just so many great quarterbacks that could be first-round NFL picks are from the Pac-12. And then you got Shedeur Sanders. He has another season under his belt. He could be a first-round pick. But they're going to be in the Big 12 by that time next year. So you have a conference of champions that has great football teams right now with Washington, Oregon. You can still throw in a USC if you want to. Arizona's playing decent football. At the same time, Utah's still a very dominant team. And Rising, even though he's not starting this year because he was injured, you got 5 quarterbacks that can be first-round draft picks out of the Pac-12, and the conference is going away. Doesn't make any sense. But that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. You got to give them all some praise. Those college kids, they put their hearts on the line, and they do whatever they can to represent their schools. And you just got to give them praise. They don't control what's going to happen and where they go next year. That's all about the Pac-12 winning their reparations. As I'd say, reparations is important in this country, and I would think that more college campuses would do it and champion for it the same way college campuses championed to end apartheid. And they marched, and they made a lot of noise, and they ended apartheid in South Africa. And hopefully they'll do that here with reparations. I wanted for the Sinners of Travis Clothing just a little bit more on tonight's game for Monday Night Football. Buffalo Bills, Monday night, they've looked a little off all season, and they lost 3 of their last 5 games. And they had a frustrating loss to the Cincinnati Bengals last week that also lost to Houston this week. And they need to get things right. And they're playing the Denver Broncos. They've been kind of off all season. But facing the Broncos, and you have Russell Wilson that knows how to win on the road, even though they've struggled this year. I mean, he's a Super Bowl winning quarterback in Russell Wilson. And right now, they have to find a way to keep that game close in Buffalo tonight. If they can keep the game close, they'll have a chance, but I think Buffalo's going to be too strong. The Broncos will stun a team for the second week in a row if they can pull off the upset. I don't see the upset happening. Not in Buffalo, not tonight, no matter what the point spread is. Some people have it at 4 points. Some people have it at 6 points. At the same time, I think that Buffalo will win this game by a touchdown at least because they're at home, and that's what happens when you get in front of a big crowd. I think Russell Wilson should play fair. He'll play well enough. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I want to go to the NBA where I was hoping I'd see some reparations now, reparations forever. But I haven't seen that banner. But I have seen the banner of the leading teams as far as their record-wise in the Western Conference. I got the top 10 teams in the Western Conference. Is Big C's thoughts. I got the New Orleans Pelicans. They are 4-6 coming into tonight, and I have them at number 10. Number 9, I have the Phoenix Suns. Thought they'd be a lot better. They're 4-6 coming into tonight. Number 8 in the Western Conference, I have the Los Angeles Lakers, led by the great King LeBron James. He was absent has a hitch in his giddy-up. Anthony Davis has to take over right now. And then I got number 7, the Sacramento Kings. They're at 500 ball tonight. They play Cleveland. The Aaron Fox, if he plays, the Kings win. I got the Golden State Warriors at number 6 in the Western Conference. They are 6-5 on the season. And ahead of Golden State is the Oklahoma City Thunder. They are 6-4 on the season, and they're off to a pretty decent start. The Houston Rockets, what a meteoric rise. They're number 4 in Big C's NBA Western Conference rankings. They are 6-3, and they trail. Look at what Houston was last year. They're a young team. And right now, I have them number 4 seed in the Western Conference, but it's early. We know it's early. I got number 3 in the Western Conference, the Minnesota Timberwolves. They are 7-2 on the season, and that's a team that has some firepower. We'll see if they'll hold on to it down the stretch. I got number 2, the great Luka Doncic and the Dallas Mavericks, the number 2 seed in the Western Conference. Luka Doncic is scoring like he's J.R. Ewing back in the day in the club, if that makes sense to you, no pun intended. But you got the Dallas Mavericks, number 2 in Big C's Western Conference Power Rankings. I got number 1 in Big C's Western Conference Power Rankings. I got the Denver Nuggets, the great Nikola Jokic, the defending NBA champion. You got to look at how well they play with the Joker, always been consistent night in and night out. Mike Malone has a good thing going in the Western Conference. I got to give that some praise. It's early, but you still got to you got to look at what they're doing. They're playing solid basketball. I want to move over to the Eastern Conference. And this is not your granddaddy's Eastern Conference, if that makes sense to you. I got number 10 in the Eastern Conference. The Cleveland Cavaliers playing in Dimner Hills, California tonight against the Sacramento Kings. They're 4-5. I have them number 10 in Big C's Eastern Conference rankings. I got number 9 for the Eastern Conference. I have the Milwaukee Bucks. They are 5-4. I have that. They're not the team they're going to be after we get through the halfway point of the season. They will improve. Dollar Dame, Giannis Antetokounmpo. I got the Brooklyn Nets at 5-5. I put them at number 8 in the Eastern Conference. They're 5-5, and they're playing good basketball, so we'll see how long they keep that up. I got number 7 in Big C's Eastern Conference rankings. The New York Knicks, they are 5-4 in the season, and they're giving New York something to be happy about since the Jets and the Giants don't want to perform for that great city on the East Coast. I got number 6, the Orlando Magic. They are 5-4 in Big C's Eastern Conference standing. This is more to enjoy in Orlando than just that mouse down there at Disney World. Number 5 in Big C's Eastern Conference standing. I got the Atlanta Hawks. They're 5-4 down in the great city of Atlanta. And this is a team that can shoot the lights out with Trae Young, if that makes sense to you. Number 4 in Big C's Eastern Conference rankings. I got the Miami Heat. If you can't stand the Heat, get out of the kitchen. Those good old boys right now have a 6-4 record coming into the night, and you can't knock them. They were in the Eastern Conference final last year and made their way to the finals, and they got knocked out by the Denver Nuggets. But they're still Miami's a team that probably won't win another Eastern Conference title this year, but you got to put that number 4. At number 3 in Big C's Eastern Conference rankings, I have the Indiana Pacers. They're 6-4 in the season, a team that can get up and down the court. But I think that right now might be where they stand for now. I don't think they're going to finish as the number 3 team in the Eastern Conference. I got number 2. I guess that's how you were raised. the great Chris Rock says. I got the Boston Celtics. They are 7-2 on the season. And the Leprechaun, a lot of people thought that Boston would be the best team in the Eastern Conference, and maybe they still will. Jaylen Brown, Tatum obviously, he's the best player in that team, but Brown's pretty strong too. But they don't have the big guy that I have at number one in the Eastern Conference. And records aside, the great Joel Embiid and the Philadelphia 76ers, talk about a sports city. You got the Phillies in baseball. Obviously didn't get to the World Series, but a lot of success they've had with the baseball. And then the Philadelphia Eagles with the best record in the NFL right now. And they lost the Super Bowl last year, but they're right on track to get back to it this year. And now the 76ers are 8-1 on the season. The great Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, they're doing their thing for the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, the talk about Joel Embiid being an MVP of the league, well, obviously, he has a chance. And if he can keep improving for that team, then maybe this is the year that Philadelphia gets through. They've come so close, yet they're so far away. And there are many people that think that they're always an underachieving team. But I don't know if they're underachieving. James Harden's no longer with Philadelphia. And I think that frees up a lot of the distrust of your teammates. Harden would just give up on the team. And I think it showed. And a lot of people just didn't want to believe that unity could be there with somebody not wanting to be there all the time. So I like with Joel Embiid, he's clearly the leader for that team, and nobody can dispute that. So I want to give them some praise for getting there and climbing that mountaintop. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I want to just finish off today's show. I love to talk of reparations. When I say reparations now, reparations forever. I love talking about reparations now and reparations forever. I want to also thank the Associated Press, Jamie Barr, for doing a story on reparations in Big C Sports. Also, CBS News doing a story on reparations with Big C Sports. Really do appreciate that as it comes. I want to just finish out in my thoughts on the hopes for a Heisman Trophy. I got Big C's top 10. It's just my story, and I'm sticking with it. Nobody has to believe in it, but it's my thoughts. And I still got number one, Caleb Williams Jr. He's a junior out of USC, reigning Heisman Trophy candidate, Heisman Trophy winner. I still got a number one. Oh, Big C, you must be out of your mind. Well, I may be, but I still have him there. I got number 2, Michael Penix Jr. He's a senior at Washington. Number 3, I like Jaden Daniels out of LSU, which was also in the Pac-12 last year. I got, in my opinion, I got number 4, Bo Nix out of Oregon with his performance this weekend against USC. I like Drake May, North Carolina. Still like Shedeur Sanders, even though they're struggling. They played close against Arizona. Cameron Ward out of Washington State. Like him too. Dylan Gabriel, Oklahoma had a big win this week. Carson Beck for Georgia. I mean, he's not losing games. So I got him up there too. And then at number 10, in my opinion, is Spencer Rattler for South Carolina. Now, whoever wins this thing, I hope it's not based on their record. I hope it's based on their performance and helping their team win. And that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. As I always tell you, reparations now, reparations forever. I hope that Congress would do for descendants of child slavery what President Abraham Lincoln did when he had the Emancipation Proclamation. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. As I always tell you on every Big C Sports show, if you're going to drink, don't drive. If you're going to drive, don't drink. Because mothers against drunk drivers are mad. And fathers against drunk drivers are mad. It's one of the easiest things not to do. You can walk it off. You can sleep it off. You can call a cab. You can just not do it. The life you save may be your own. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Well, as I always tell you, back in the day, there's a man known by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. And he would always tell Ali, he said, you float like a butterfly and you sting like a bee. Rumble, young man, rumble. He said, with all you got to use, how can you lose? All of this say, I'm so pretty, I can't possibly be beat because listening to Big C Sports makes me go to say reparations now, reparations forever. That's my story. and I think that Congress will ultimately do the right thing with it. Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. My beautiful mother always says there's never ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. No man, woman, or child should ever have to put up with that garbage on their own. If you know anybody going through that garbage, pick up the phone and call 911, because things change when the police show up. No man, woman, or child should ever have to put up with that crap. Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. And now you know what time it is. What I always say, as we stand up for the kickoff, I want to honor America's 16th president, President Abraham Lincoln, when he said, reparations now, reparations forever. Let's say it like your team just won the game as you stand up for the kickoff. What did Abraham Lincoln say? He said, reparations now, reparations forever. Now let's say it as if your team just won the championship game of the universe. What did President Abraham Lincoln say? Listen up, Congress. He said, reparations now, reparations forever. I thank you, I appreciate you, and I hope that you have a super fantastic day.